Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's incredible journey. The next day, Emma found herself walking through the busy streets of New York City, still reeling from her mistake at the restaurant the night before. She couldn't help but replay the entire situation in her mind. Her heart still ached with embarrassment. She had messed up a simple blind date. She had sat at the wrong table, talked to the wrong man, and made a complete fool of herself. But despite all of that, there was something about him. Something in the way he smiled at her, the way he didn't seem to mind that she was rambling on nervously, that made her feel like maybe, just maybe, she wasn't completely invisible in this world after all. She had tried to push the thought out of her mind, but it lingered, pulling her back into that moment in the restaurant. She had felt seen. For once, she had felt like someone actually cared about what she had to say, even though it was a total accident. Emma was walking down the street, the hum of the city surrounding her, when her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, her heart skipping a beat when she saw the name on the screen. Jenny. Hey, where are you? Want to grab some coffee later? Emma hesitated. She didn't feel like talking about last night again, but Jenny was her best friend. She could never hide anything from her. I don't know. I kind of messed up last night. Emma typed back, her fingers hesitating over the keys as she tried to figure out how to explain the awkward encounter. Within seconds, Jenny responded. Messed up? What happened? Spill it. Emma laughed softly to herself. Jenny always had a way of making her feel like everything was going to be okay, no matter how bad things seemed. Emma quickly typed back. I sat at the wrong table. I thought he was Kevin, but he wasn't. It was this guy named Liam. He seemed really nice, but I ran off as soon as I realized my mistake. Wait a second. So you had a conversation with a complete stranger and didn't even get his number? Girl, what are you doing? Jenny replied. Emma couldn't help but smile, despite herself. Jenny's words made her feel a little better, but she couldn't shake the thought of Liam from her mind. I don't know. He was different. Not like the other guys, Jenny. There was something about him that made me feel noticed. Jenny's response came quickly. You're in trouble now, aren't you? Well, look at it this way. You didn't make a fool of yourself on purpose. I'm sure he gets it. Just don't worry about it. Emma smiled as she read Jenny's message, but the feeling of unease still gnawed at her. She couldn't let it go. There was something about Liam's presence, his smile, the way he listened to her, that made her feel like she wasn't just a waitress, a girl struggling to make ends meet. She was someone who could be seen and heard, but she wasn't sure if that was enough. Later that afternoon, Emma was walking to the diner for her shift when she heard someone calling her name from across the street. She turned and froze. Standing on the sidewalk, with a slightly sheepish smile on his face, was Liam. For a moment, they just stood there, staring at each other. Emma's heart was racing, and she couldn't understand why. Was this real? Was this actually happening? She hadn't expected to see him again, especially not like this. Liam walked toward her, his steps quick but casual. Hey, Emma, he said, his voice smooth and warm. I didn't expect to run into you today. Emma was speechless for a moment. Her mind raced, trying to find the right words. Hi. She finally managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam smiled, the same gentle smile from the night before. I know it was kind of a weird situation last night, he said, scratching the back of his neck awkwardly. But I wanted to apologize if I made you uncomfortable. Emma shook her head, feeling a strange sense of relief wash over her. No, you didn't make me uncomfortable. I was just embarrassed. I thought you were someone else. It was all my fault. Liam's smile softened. It happens, you know. It wasn't your fault at all. He paused, as if weighing his next words carefully. Actually, I wanted to say, I really enjoyed our conversation last night. You're different. It was nice to talk to someone who didn't know who I was. Emma felt her cheeks flush. This wasn't how she imagined this meeting would go. She was still trying to process everything that had happened. I'm glad, she said, her voice a little shakier than she wanted it to be. It was nice talking to you too, but I really have to get to work. Liam nodded, but there was something in his eyes that made Emma pause. Would you like to grab coffee sometime? I know this great little place just down the street. It's not fancy, but it's quiet. and I'd really like to talk more. Emma felt her heart skip a beat. Was he serious? She wasn't sure if this was just another awkward attempt at making up for the confusion or if he genuinely wanted to spend more time with her. But the way he looked at her, with that quiet sincerity, made her want to take the chance. She smiled, feeling a little less anxious. Sure, she said, her voice steady now. I'd like that. Liam smiled back, his eyes lighting up. Great. I'll see you then. As Liam walked away, Emma couldn't help but feel like something had shifted in the universe, like this was a beginning of something new. She didn't know what it would lead to, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was finally getting a chance to be more than just invisible. And as she walked to work, a small smile played on her lips. Maybe, just maybe, this mistake wasn't such a bad thing after all. The following week, Emma found herself walking into the quiet coffee shop Liam had mentioned. She had been nervous all morning, wondering if this was a mistake, or if he was just being polite. She had never imagined her life taking a turn like this, meeting a man like him in the most awkward way possible, and yet here she was, standing at the counter, waiting for him. Her heart was racing as she looked around, scanning the room. It was a small, cozy place, with soft jazz playing in the background and the aroma of freshly ground coffee beans filling the air. It was nothing like the upscale restaurant they had met in, and that felt strangely comforting. She checked her watch, the minutes ticking by. Was he still coming? Maybe he had changed his mind. Just as she was about to sit down, the door opened, and Liam walked in. His presence was undeniable, tall, with a confident yet easygoing demeanor. He spotted her immediately and flashed that warm smile that had made her feel so at ease last time. She couldn't help but smile back, the nerves in her stomach easing just a little. Hey, Emma, Liam greeted, walking over with a casual confidence. I hope I didn't keep you waiting too long. Emma shook her head, her smile widening. No, I just got here. I wasn't sure if I was in the right place, but this seems like the spot you were talking about. Liam chuckled as he sat down across from her. Yeah, it's a bit of a hole in the wall, but it's my favorite. The coffee is great, and it's quiet enough to actually have a conversation without the noise of the city in the background. Emma nodded, feeling more relaxed as they continued to talk. They ordered their drinks, Liam with his usual black coffee and Emma with a latte, and settled into their conversation. They spoke easily, as if they had known each other for years, which felt strange but comforting. Liam talked about his work in tech, though he kept the details vague, not wanting to give too much away. Emma, in turn, shared more about her life, her struggles, her dreams of becoming an artist, and her desire to open a gallery someday. For the first time in a long time, she felt like someone actually cared about what she had to say. As they talked, Emma couldn't help but notice how different Liam was from the other men she had met. There was something genuine about him, something that made her feel like he wasn't just playing the game, trying to impress her with his wealth or status. He listened to her, really listened, and that made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. At one point, she caught herself laughing a little too loudly at something he said, and she quickly covered her mouth, embarrassed. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh that much. I just haven't had a good laugh in a while. Liam smiled warmly, his eyes softening. Don't apologize. I like that you can laugh. It's refreshing. Emma's cheeks flushed, but she felt a flutter in her chest. It was hard to explain, but she could feel the connection between them growing, slowly but surely. She had started this meeting thinking it was just a chance to make up for the awkward dinner, but now, sitting across from him, she wasn't so sure anymore. Could there be more to this than a simple mistake? As the conversation continued, Liam opened up just a little more. I don't usually do this kind of thing, you know, he said, his voice more serious now. Meet people, I mean. Most of my life is business, meetings, and events. But there's something about you that makes me want to do things differently. Emma blinked, surprised. What do you mean? She asked, her curiosity piqued. Liam hesitated, his fingers tapping lightly on the coffee cup. I don't know. It's just, you're different. You don't treat me like I'm just the CEO of a company. You treat me like like I'm just a person. And that's rare, Emma. Most people see me as a name, a title. But you see me for me. Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. She hadn't expected him to say anything like that, and it left her speechless for a moment. She had always believed that the best connections were the ones where people truly saw each other, without the layers of status or wealth getting in the way. She cleared her throat, trying to steady her nerves. "I didn't mean to treat you differently," she said softly. "It's just that, I don't know. I've always believed that the best people are the ones who don't put on a front, no matter who they are. I just wanted to talk to you, not, well, not your title." Liam's expression softened, and for a moment, there was a quiet understanding between them. The air between them seemed to shift, as if the walls they had both built around themselves had started to crumble, just a little. The rest of their coffee date passed by in a blur, and before Emma knew it was time to go. As they stood up to leave, Liam surprised her by saying, "I know this may sound forward, but would you like to join me for dinner sometime? I promise I won't make you sit at the wrong table this time." Emma laughed, feeling the tension between them dissolve completely. "I'd like that," she said, smiling warmly. As they walked out of the coffee shop together, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just another casual meeting. There was something real happening between them, something she hadn't expected when she first sat at the wrong table that night. But now, as they shared this simple moment together, she felt like this was just the beginning of something special. The following week, Emma found herself walking through the elegant lobby of a high-end restaurant, a place she had never imagined herself visiting again, let alone with someone like Liam. They had spent the last few days texting back and forth, sharing more of their lives with each other, and it was clear that their connection was growing. Liam had asked her out to dinner, and although she was hesitant at first, something about him made her feel like this was more than just another date. This was different. He wasn't like the other men she had met before. And now, as she stood here, waiting for Liam to arrive, she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nervousness bubbling inside her. Emma adjusted her dress nervously as she stood at the entrance, trying to calm her racing heart. She had never been in a place like this, so polished, so luxurious. The waitstaff moved with practiced grace, and the sound of clinking glasses and soft laughter filled the air. Emma couldn't help but feel out of place, but she quickly reminded herself that she was here on a date with Liam, and that meant she belonged here, at least for tonight. Just then, she felt a tap on her shoulder, and she turned around to find Liam standing there with his trademark smile, wearing a perfectly tailored suit. His presence was commanding yet comforting, and Emma instantly felt her nerves settle. He looked at her with a twinkle in his eyes. "You look amazing," he said, his voice warm and genuine. Emma felt a blush creeping up her neck, and she smiled shyly. "Thank you," she replied softly, feeling a little overwhelmed by how handsome he looked. The way he made her feel with just a few simple words was unlike anything she had ever experienced before. They were led to a private table, and as they sat down, the waiter brought them menus. Liam looked over at Emma, his eyes still focused on her, and it felt like the entire world outside of their small corner of the restaurant had faded away. "So, tell me more about your art," Liam asked, his voice casual but genuinely interested. "I've been thinking about our last conversation, and I'd love to hear more about what inspires you." Emma was surprised by how much he seemed to care, especially considering how busy his life must be. She took a deep breath, feeling more at ease as she began to explain. "Well, I've always been drawn to abstract art," Emma said. "It's the way I can express things that words can't capture. I've always dreamed of opening a gallery, somewhere I can showcase not just my work, but other artists who don't always get the recognition they deserve." Liam nodded, listening intently. "That's amazing," he said, his voice thoughtful. "You have a real passion for it, don't you?" Emma smiled, feeling her confidence grow with every word. "I do. It's the one thing that feels like it truly represents me. Everything else, all the struggles I've been through, seem less important when I'm creating something that's just mine." Liam reached across the table, gently placing his hand over hers. The simple gesture caught Emma off guard, but in a way that felt comforting, not overwhelming. "I think that's beautiful," Liam said softly. "Everyone should have something like that, something that makes them feel like they truly belong, like they can be themselves." Emma looked at him, her heart fluttering in her chest. She had never had someone look at her with such sincerity. She had never had someone truly understand what she was going through, someone who didn't judge her for her struggles, but instead encouraged her to keep going. Just then, the waiter arrived with their food, and they both momentarily shifted their focus to the meal in front of them. The restaurant had a way of making everything feel special. The lighting, the quiet hum of conversation in the background, the crisp sound of utensils on fine china. But, despite all of this, It was Liam's presence that made everything seem even more surreal. As they ate, their conversation drifted to lighter topics. They talked about their favorite movies, the books they had read recently, and even shared a few funny stories from their pasts. But beneath the laughter, there was an underlying tension between them, a pull neither of them could ignore. As dessert was served, Liam leaned back in his chair, studying Emma with an intensity that made her heart race. "I know this might sound strange," he said, his voice serious now, "but I feel like we've known each other for much longer than just a few weeks. Like we've crossed paths before, even though we haven't. Do you ever feel like that?" Emma looked at him, her chest tightening slightly. She had felt that exact same thing. The strange, magnetic pull between them. It was as if their souls were somehow familiar with each other, even if they had only just met. "I do," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "It's like everything just clicks when I'm with you. Like I'm not just pretending to be someone I'm not." Liam smiled softly, his eyes never leaving hers. "That's how I feel too. I never expected this. Meeting someone who makes me feel like I can just be myself. No pretenses, no facades." The air between them grew charged, as if something was about to change. They sat there for a moment, locked in a gaze that said everything words couldn't. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt like she had found someone who truly understood her, someone who didn't just see the surface, but looked deeper. As the night came to a close and they left the restaurant, Liam offered Emma his arm, and she took it without hesitation. They walked through the streets of New York City, the lights of the city casting a soft glow around them. Emma couldn't help but feel like this night, this moment, was the beginning of something beautiful, something real. For the first time in a long time, Emma allowed herself to believe in the possibility of love. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't invisible after all. The following week, Emma and Liam continued to spend more time together. The awkwardness from their first meeting seemed like a distant memory now, replaced by something much more comfortable, even familiar. Every time they met, Emma felt a little more at ease with him, as if their connection was only growing stronger. They had dinners at cozy little cafes, walked through parks, and even visited a few art galleries together. The more she learned about Liam, the more she found herself drawn to him, not just because of his wealth or status, but because of the person he was. He was kind, thoughtful, and he actually listened when she spoke, something she hadn't experienced in a long time. But despite the growing closeness, Emma couldn't shake the nagging feeling in the back of her mind. She kept telling herself that this was just a phase, that the bond they were building might not last. She wasn't sure if Liam truly cared about her, or if he was just enjoying the novelty of their connection. She had always been cautious about getting her hopes up, afraid of getting hurt again. Her past relationships hadn't been the best, and she wasn't sure if she was ready to fully let someone in. But Liam made it so easy. He made her feel like she was enough, like she didn't need to pretend to be anyone else. One afternoon, they were sitting on a park bench, the sunlight filtering through the leaves above, casting dappled shadows on the ground. Liam was talking about a new project at work, but Emma wasn't really listening. Her mind was elsewhere, focused on the way Liam's voice made her feel. It wasn't just the sound of his words, it was the sincerity behind them. He had a way of making everything feel significant, even the smallest details. "Emma." Liam's voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back to the present. He looked at her with a small, curious smile. "Are you okay? You seem a little distracted." Emma blinked, caught off guard. She realized she had been staring at him, lost in her own thoughts. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just thinking." She gave him a small smile, hoping to brush off her unease. Liam raised an eyebrow, clearly not convinced. Thinking about what? She hesitated, unsure of how to respond. The truth was, she had been thinking about them, about what this all meant. She had never expected to find someone who made her feel the way Liam did, but the reality of their situation was starting to weigh on her. She didn't want to open up completely, not just yet. What if he didn't feel the same way? "I was just thinking about how nice it is to spend time with you," she said finally, choosing to keep things light. Liam's smile softened, and he reached over to take her hand, his fingers warm against hers. "I feel the same way, Emma. I've really enjoyed getting to know you. More than I expected." He paused, his expression turning serious. "And I know I've said this before, but I think there's something special between us. Something real." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She felt the same way, but hearing him say it out loud made her feel both vulnerable and hopeful. She squeezed his hand, her voice barely above a whisper. "I feel it too," she admitted, her eyes meeting his. They sat there for a moment, the world around them fading into the background as they shared a quiet, tender moment. Emma's fears about the future still lingered, but for the first time, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of a real connection, something that wasn't just based on appearances or circumstances. That evening, Liam invited her to a charity event that his company was hosting. Emma was nervous about going, unsure of what to expect in such an upscale setting, but Liam reassured her. "You'll be fine," he said with a reassuring smile. "Just be yourself. That's all I need." Emma nodded, trying to shake off her nerves. She wanted to make a good impression, but more than anything, she wanted to be with Liam, to experience this world he inhabited, even if it was just for one night. At the event, Emma couldn't help but feel a little out of place. The room was filled with wealthy, well-dressed people, all of them mingling and exchanging pleasantries. But Liam was by her side, guiding her through the crowd with ease. As the evening wore on, Emma started to relax, especially with Liam's constant reassurance. After a few hours, the event was winding down, and Liam led Emma to a quieter corner of the room. He smiled at her, his eyes filled with warmth. "I'm glad you came tonight," he said. "It means a lot to me that you're here." Emma smiled back, feeling a flutter in her chest. "I'm glad I came, too. It's nice to be here with you." Liam stepped closer, his hand gently brushing against hers. "I think I'm falling for you, Emma," he said, his voice low and sincere. "I didn't expect this when we first met, but now I can't imagine my life without you." Emma's breath caught in her throat, and for a moment, she couldn't speak. The words she had been holding back, the feelings she had tried to suppress, bubbled to the surface. She knew in that moment that she felt the same way. This wasn't just some fling. This was something real, something that could change both of their lives. She took a deep breath and finally said the words she had been too afraid to say before. "I think I'm falling for you too." As they stood there, in that quiet corner of the room, everything seemed to fall into place. The confusion, the doubts, the fear, it all faded away, leaving only the certainty that they had found something truly special. And in that moment, Emma realized that this wasn't just another mistake. This was the beginning of something beautiful. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind for Emma. She and Liam continued to grow closer, each meeting feeling more natural than the last. They spent time together almost every day, whether it was at a quiet cafe, walking through the park, or at one of Liam's charity events. Emma felt like she was finally beginning to find her place in the world, and it was all thanks to Liam. He made her feel like she mattered, like she was more than just a waitress with big dreams. He saw her potential, and that was something she had never really experienced before. But as much as she enjoyed their time together, there was still a part of Emma that hesitated. She knew that Liam was an incredibly successful CEO, and despite his warm and genuine demeanor, there was always that voice in her head reminding her of their differences. He came from a world of luxury and influence, while she had spent most of her life struggling just to make ends meet. She often wondered if he would eventually realize that they came from two completely different worlds. Would he grow tired of her? Was she just a fleeting distraction for him? These thoughts kept her up at night, and no matter how much she tried to push them aside, they kept creeping back in. One evening, after another charity event where Liam had been the guest of honor, Emma found herself sitting on a bench outside the venue, waiting for him to finish some final conversations with colleagues. The city was quiet for once, with only the distant hum of traffic filling the air. She stared at the sky, lost in thought, when Liam walked out, his face lighting up as soon as he saw her. "I'm sorry I kept you waiting," he said, his voice warm and apologetic. "There's always so much to handle at these things." Emma smiled softly, trying to hide the anxiety that had been building in her chest. "It's fine," she said, her voice steady. "I don't mind waiting." Liam sat down beside her, his hand gently resting on hers. He looked at her for a moment, his gaze searching, as if trying to read her thoughts. "You're quiet tonight," he said, his tone soft. "What's on your mind?" Emma hesitated, unsure of how to express the fears that had been plaguing her. But something about the way he looked at her made her want to be honest. She took a deep breath, gathering her courage. "I've just been thinking a lot about us," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I mean, this is all so new to me. I've never been with someone like you before, Liam. You're successful, you've got everything going for you. And then there's me, just trying to figure things out. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just not enough. She looked down at their hands, feeling the weight of her insecurities pressing down on her. For a moment, there was silence between them, and she feared she had said too much. Liam's fingers gently lifted her chin, guiding her to look into his eyes. His expression was serious, but there was a tenderness in his gaze that made her heart race. Emma, he said softly, you are more than enough. I don't care about where you come from or what you do for a living. I care about you, the person you are. I care about how you make me feel. You're not a distraction to me. You're everything. Emma's heart skipped a beat as his words sank in. She had been so focused on their differences that she had forgotten to consider the most important thing, how they made each other feel. In that moment, the weight of her doubts began to lift, and she realized that Liam's feelings for her were real. But what if I'm not enough for the life you have? Emma asked, her voice shaking slightly. What if I don't fit into your world? Liam smiled gently, his thumb brushing over the back of her hand. Emma, this isn't about fitting into a world. It's about building something together. I don't need you to be anything other than yourself. That's what makes you perfect for me. Emma felt a tear slip down her cheek, and before she knew it, Liam was wiping it away with his thumb, his touch as gentle as the words he had just spoken. I promise you, Emma, he said, his voice filled with sincerity. This isn't about your past, or your job, or where you come from. This is about us. And I want this, all of it, with you. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt the heavy burden of her insecurities start to melt away. She realized that maybe, just maybe, she was worthy of this love, this connection with Liam. They sat in silence for a while, their hands still entwined, as the city lights twinkled around them. It was in that moment that Emma understood something she hadn't fully realized before. Love wasn't about being perfect or fitting into some idealized version of what a relationship should be. It was about finding someone who saw you for who you really were and accepting you anyway. As Liam pulled her into a gentle embrace, Emma finally allowed herself to relax, knowing that whatever the future held, they would face it together. And for the first time in a long time, she felt truly at peace. The days that followed were filled with a new sense of ease between Emma and Liam. They were becoming more than just two people from different worlds. They were starting to build something together. Liam's assurance had calmed the doubts Emma had carried for so long. She no longer questioned whether she was enough for him. When they were together, it felt like they could take on anything. They spent their time exploring the city, visiting art galleries, and even doing simple things like cooking together in Liam's kitchen. It was during one of those quiet nights in his apartment that Emma started to realize just how deeply her feelings for Liam had grown. As they were sitting on the couch, laughing about a silly movie they had been watching, Emma looked at Liam, his face lit by the soft glow of the TV screen. His laughter was easy, genuine, and it filled the room with warmth. In that moment, something inside Emma shifted. She had always been so afraid to let people in, to fully trust in a relationship, but with Liam, everything felt different. There was no game, no uncertainty. Just two people, comfortable in each other's presence, supporting each other's dreams. Liam paused the movie and turned toward her, his expression softening. You know, I've been thinking, he said, his voice quiet, almost serious. Emma raised an eyebrow, curious. About what? She asked. He took a deep breath, as if gathering his thoughts. About us. And about the future. I know we've been spending a lot of time together, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. He reached out and gently took her hand in his. I want this, Emma. I want to see where this goes. And I need to know that you're in this too. That you're not just scared or holding back because of what happened in the past. Because, honestly, I think you're it for me. His voice was steady, but there was an emotion in it that Emma hadn't heard before, raw, vulnerable. Emma's heart skipped a beat as she processed his words. She knew that Liam was serious, but she hadn't expected him to put it out there so openly. Her mind raced, but as she looked into his eyes, all the fears and uncertainties she had been holding on to for so long melted away. She had already known, deep down, how she felt about him. It wasn't just a passing attraction or a fleeting connection. It was real. Liam, I'm in this. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, Emma said, her voice trembling slightly as she spoke. She squeezed his hand, trying to convey everything she was feeling in that moment. I know I've been hesitant. I've been afraid to really let go, to trust completely. But with you, I feel like I can. I feel like I finally have someone who sees me, all of me, and still wants to be here. Liam's expression softened even more, and he leaned in to kiss her gently on the forehead. You have no idea how happy that makes me feel, he whispered. For a moment, the world outside seemed to disappear. There were no uncertainties, no lingering doubts. Just the two of them, wrapped up in a moment of quiet understanding. The life they were building together was still new, but it felt like the beginning of something beautiful and lasting. The next morning, as Emma prepared to leave for work, Liam walked her to the door. As he opened it for her, he paused and turned to face her, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. I'll see you later tonight, he asked, his voice filled with a mix of hope and certainty. Emma nodded, smiling back. Definitely, she replied. Tonight. And every night after that. As she stepped out into the bright morning, Emma felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. She had found something real, something that wasn't based on fear or uncertainty, but on trust and mutual respect. And for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that this was just the beginning of a beautiful chapter in her life. As the days passed, Emma and Liam's connection deepened, becoming something neither of them had anticipated. What had started as a simple, albeit awkward, blind date had evolved into a love that felt more real with every passing moment. They spent their days together, sharing everything from quiet mornings over coffee to spontaneous walks around the city. Emma was beginning to feel more at home in Liam's world, and Liam seemed equally content in hers. The walls that had once seemed insurmountable were slowly coming down, replaced by mutual understanding and affection. But even with everything going so well, there were moments when doubt crept back into Emma's mind. She loved Liam, there was no question about that. But she couldn't help but wonder if their worlds were truly compatible. He was still a CEO, running a multi-million-dollar company, while she was a woman just starting to find her footing in the world of art. Her worries about being enough for him began to resurface, no matter how many times Liam reassured her that he didn't care about status or money. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, Emma found herself pacing around her small apartment, lost in thought. The walls seemed to close in on her as the doubts gnawed at her. She needed to talk to Liam, but the fear of being vulnerable, of admitting her insecurities, kept her silent. Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Liam. I was thinking about you today. Can we talk tonight? I miss you. Emma smiled at the message, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. She quickly typed back, agreeing to meet at his apartment. The thought of seeing him again, of being in his arms, made all her worries seem a little less significant. Later that evening, she stood at Liam's door, her heart racing. As he opened it, a soft smile spread across his face, and for a moment, everything else faded away. Hey you, he said, his voice warm, reaching out to pull her into a tight embrace. Emma felt a rush of relief flood through her. Here, in his arms, everything felt right. They sat down on the couch, the soft glow of the lamp casting a peaceful ambience around them. Emma looked at Liam, her eyes filled with both affection and uncertainty. Liam, there's something I've been meaning to talk to you about, she said, her voice shaky. Liam turned to face her, his expression serious but caring. What is it? You know you can talk to me about anything. Emma took a deep breath, her mind racing. I want to make sure we're being realistic. I've been thinking a lot, and I know we're building something great, but I'm not sure if we come from the same world. You have this life, this empire you've built, and I'm just starting out. What if I'm not enough for you? What if we're just too different? For a moment, Liam didn't say anything. He just watched her, his gaze steady and reassuring. Then, he reached out, taking her hand in his. Emma, listen to me, Liam began, his voice soft but firm. I don't care about the life you've had or the world you come from. All I care about is the person you are now. What we're building is real, and it's not about fitting into a mold. It's about us. And I believe in us. Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her as she listened to his words. She had spent so much time doubting herself, wondering if she was good enough for him, when all along, Liam had been seeing her for who she truly was. And that made all the difference. But what about everything else? Emma asked quietly. The future, our different worlds. Our lives? How do we make it work? Liam smiled gently, his eyes filled with warmth. One step at a time. We'll figure it out, Emma. We don't need to have all the answers right now. We just need to be here, with each other. Emma's heart swelled with emotion as she realized that Liam wasn't just promising her a future together. He was promising to walk with her through every uncertain step. And in that moment, she knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The evening passed in a comfortable silence, the weight of Emma's doubts finally lifting. She didn't have all the answers, but she knew one thing for sure. With Liam by her side, she was ready to face whatever came next. And for the first time in a long time, Emma allowed herself to believe that love could be enough. Several months passed, and Emma and Liam's relationship continued to grow stronger. They had weathered their fears and doubts, and now, standing side by side, they were creating something beautiful together. They had built a life full of love, trust, and mutual respect. Emma had started her art gallery, a dream she once thought was out of reach, and Liam had been by her side every step of the way, offering his support and encouragement. He never once made her feel like she was less than enough. Instead, he celebrated her successes as if they were his own, always reminding her of her worth. One evening, after a long day of meetings and gallery openings, Emma was at home, going through some new art submissions for the gallery. She had just finished responding to a few emails when she heard a knock at the door. She wasn't expecting anyone, so she walked over, curious. When she opened the door, Liam was standing there, holding a small, carefully wrapped package. "Hi," he said with a soft smile, his eyes twinkling with a hint of excitement. "I have something for you." Emma blinked in surprise. "For me? What is it?" she asked, stepping aside to let him in. Liam handed her the package, his smile growing. "Go ahead, open it." Emma carefully unwrapped the package, her hands trembling slightly with anticipation. When she opened it, she found a small wooden box inside, beautifully carved with intricate patterns. She looked up at Liam, her heart beginning to race. "Liam, this is beautiful. What is it?" Liam's smile softened as he took a deep breath. "Open it," he said quietly. Emma opened the box, and inside, nestled carefully, was a delicate gold necklace with a small pendant shaped like a heart. It was simple, yet elegant, and she could tell it was something meaningful. She looked up at Liam, her eyes wide. "It's perfect," she whispered. Liam stepped closer, taking the necklace from the box. "There's something I've been wanting to ask you," he said, his voice full of sincerity. "Emma, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Emma's breath caught in her throat, her heart beating faster. The world seemed to stop for a moment as she looked at Liam, seeing the love in his eyes, the certainty in his voice. This was the moment she had dreamed of but never thought would come true. She took a step forward, her hands shaking as she touched the necklace in his hands. "Yes," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, I will marry you." Liam's face lit up with pure joy as he slipped the necklace around her neck, gently brushing his fingers against her skin. He pulled her into a tight embrace, holding her close. "You make me so incredibly happy, Emma," he whispered. "I promise to always love you, to always be there for you." Emma felt tears well up in her eyes as she rested her head on his shoulder. "I feel the same way, Liam," she murmured. "You've shown me what true love is. I never thought I could have this, but now, here we are, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else." They stood there for a moment, wrapped in each other's arms, knowing that their journey together had only just begun. They had faced their fears, navigated their differences, and had found something rare and beautiful in each other, a love that was real and unwavering. As Liam kissed the top of Emma's head, they both knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together, hand in hand. The love they had built was strong, and it was only going to grow stronger with time. And as they looked forward to the life they would build together, both Emma and Liam knew one thing for certain. This was just the beginning of their story.